Good afternoon. My name is Mr. Luis Aviles, and I will be talking to you about Afghanistan, the drawdown, the logistical nightmare. Before I continue, I have to let you know that this is unclassified information, persuasive briefing. All of this information has been declassified and it can be easily accessible in the internet doing Google search research. None of this information will pose any security or safety threat to our troops downrange. After 12 years of war in Afghanistan, it is time to place an end to Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. This drawdown of US forces, coalition forces, and civilians in Afghanistan will require an expansive and extensive effort to sort, identify, and ship fully mission-capable equipment, unused equipment, parts, supplies, and service contract worth billions of dollars to its points of origin. The push to send equipment and personnel home will take an increased emphasis and priority. However, all units must stay focused on combat operations to continue fighting the Taliban and terrorists and reduce casualties. As you can see on this chart, on this graphic, declassified information. The drawdown and transition of American coalition forces to Afghanistan control will have to take place in several phases to avoid stagnancy, bottleneck in the transportation system, corruption, and most importantly, unnecessary casualties and death of our troops. The challenge ahead poses a bigger logistic nightmare given the fact that Afghanistan does not have a seaport, neither a short or safer road system out of the country. In addition, transport across Pakistani border has been very problematic because Pakistan closed the border when a helicopter accidentally killed 24 Pakistani soldiers, and they closed at that border for 7 months. However, the border reopened in July 2012 with the U.S. apology. We apologize to them, but the traffic has been very slow to return to normal, and it's because the Afghanistan administrative procedures and fee requests. Next slide, please. This slide is a brief synopsis of the entire Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan from the moment that we started bombing, October 7, 2001, to the proposed withdrawal year 2014. As you can see, the background, it was the warfare among the militias and the warlord in Afghanistan was rampant. And the purpose that we went to Afghanistan was to dismantle the Al-Qaeda organization, to remove the Taliban government, stop the use of Afghanistan as their terrorist base, and capture Osama bin Laden. Since we accomplished all these tasks, it is time to pull out of Afghanistan now. Next slide, please. As you can see here, at one point during Operation Enduring Freedom, we have 42 countries involved. We started with 20,000 troops in 2001, but at one point we had 130,000 troops in Operation Enduring Freedom. And as of October 2013, the death toll in Afghanistan is 2,181 US soldiers, 3 US civilians, and 1,080 coalition force, and 18,230 US service members wounded. In addition, 33 US soldiers and 66 coalition soldiers died outside Afghanistan territory in support of OEF operation. And in order to support these 42 countries and 130,000 troops, this costs money. And I'm going to discuss that a couple of slides down the road, but you will see. Next slide, please. As you can see on this slide, this is where we have our nightmare. This is where we are facing our challenge. We need to plan to send home over 24,000 vehicles and over 20,000 shipping containers of gear collected. during the 13 years of war. Now you can see we have three major ways of transportation to accomplish this humongous task. We have land, sea, and air. As you can see, land, the direct mail supply routes, this road system, they are very bad condition. The sea, Afghanistan has no seaport, and in addition, it have inadequate river system to transport any equipment or heavy equipment. And by air, this is very expensive route. And in addition, the border of Pakistan are edgy because it's slow, it have bureaucracy, and the government of Pakistan is not playing nice with the NATO forces. Next slide, please. Not everything will be sent back to the United States. Equipment considered surplus will be donated to the Afghan government. Other equipment will be sold to allied countries who have already expressed an interest in buying this equipment. Another equipment will be cut up and sold as scrap, and other will be just destroyed in place. Due to the increased convoy attack on the Pakistani side, and also the assumption by the Pakistani government that they only have the only land transportation option through the border to the port of Karachi. Even though this is partially true, however, on the next slide I'm going to show you other options that we can use to use the Russia and the other Central Asia road system. Because as you can see, next to Afghanistan we have Iran, and Iran transportation system is not even an option, because with the latest development of international relation with Iran, we do not foresee using Iran's transportation system during this drawdown. I'm going to show you on the next slide what I call the miracle of this logistic nightmare. Next slide, please. I call this slide the logistic miracle, ending our nightmare. As we can see, the less independence we have on Pakistan, we, the US military and the coalition forces, was able to establish contract, DoD contract, and civilian loan contract, and subcontractors, and to establish better line of supply through Russia and the Central Asia states to ship the equipment and material out of the war zone. These routes will be more indirect, as you can see, and it's going to be a little bit more expensive than the regular supply line through Pakistan, but will be considered to be more stable and safer. As you can see, we will have the equipment out of the country by land, by sea, and by air by the December 31st, 2014, which is the scheduled final departure date for most US combat forces in the country. The current budget sequestration cuts in the defense spending plan triggered by the budget sequester should not have any impact on the withdrawal of US forces troops and material from Afghanistan. This massive logistic effort to have all this equipment out of Afghanistan is going to cost us around $7 billion. Next slide, please. The impact of moving out of Afghanistan now boils down to this chart right here. The quality of life pre and post-war for all US soldiers, the local economy in Afghanistan, the US economy, that right now we are what we call it in a war fatigue stage. As you can see, the war in Afghanistan is an astonishing $2 trillion. This chart right here is a combination of Iraq and Afghanistan war together with a whopping amount of $4 trillion. Woof. The fighting war in Afghanistan, as you can see, is very expensive, but it so will be pulling out of the conflict, even though the United States isn't leaving entirely. And finally, we have to ask us this question: did we achieve the objectives and tasks at every level that we set from the beginning? If the answer is yes, then we are ready to pull out and withdraw from Afghanistan like now. Next slide, please. Here we see the pros of withdrawing from Afghanistan and ending this logistical nightmare. The main one will be saving life, and the cost of human life is priceless. In addition, there will be no more emotional combat stress, no more traumatic stress disorder, no more traumatic brain injuries. Money, we're going to keep decreasing the current debt of the US. The budget, there is no need to spend another war $4 trillion. And the world economy, we will recover and avoid all these mayhem and chaos that both war has created. Here we just see some cons that do not outweigh the pros of ending this conflict in Afghanistan. One of the disadvantages is unemployment, and also we have well-paid non-degree individuals working in Afghanistan, like American going over there and doing non-technical jobs and getting paid $100,000 plus. That will stop. Also, for us to pull out, there could be probably a bloody civil war with Afghanistan and the Taliban and Al Qaeda again, because the problem is the Taliban might come back and try to take control and re-implementing the Sharia law that was there before 2001. And by the Sharia law, it is amazing that these religious extremists, like the Taliban and Al Qaeda, they they're more afraid a girl with a book than us with tanks and bombs. It is amazing, something so simple, equal women's right. It's not. It was non-existent before 2001. And also the local government economy, the infrastructure and the basic living necessities. We construct schools, the Taliban blow it up. We gave them hospital, Al Qaeda blow them up. We build them new roads, new school, whatever, and they blow them up. So the basic necessity is just not going to be there because they're not used to living like that. And the instability and the bigger corruption practice in the government, as we can see with Karzai's brother, with the monopolies he has with the transportation system in Afghanistan. In conclusion, the end of the war, which has spanned for more than a decade, to be more exactly, it will be 13 years, will be a costly move and it will be a logistical nightmare. The Afghanistan geography, as we saw, will make it more costly and difficult for the US to ship its military hardware back home. However, if we use the logistic miracle slide, that will prevent us to have a headache when it comes down to pull out of Afghanistan. That logistic miracle will save us life and will save us money. Even though it's be expensive, but in the long run will be cheaper than to replace any equipment that is being blown up during shipment through Pakistan. All this withdrawal of troops, all this preparation must be done without shortcutting the units still fighting in Afghanistan, because we need to keep them safe and ready to fight at no notice against the Taliban and Al Qaeda in case they return back. One of the greatest achievements eventually achieved and seen in Afghan people is the proper, well organized interference-free election system in which the Afghan people, can now elect their next president, and on top of that, the equal right for women. Two questions that we might ask ourselves is, did we achieve the objective and intent? And I would say yes. We did disrupt the terrorists camp and kill Osama bin Laden. And the last one, did we disrupt, dismantle, or defeat Al Qaeda? Unfortunately, I had to say no, because as you can see by this picture right here, Al Qaeda, the Taliban forces, are an army that had never been defeated. Now with the British Army, the Mongolian with Genghis Khan, the US Army, the Russian, the Turks, the Macedonian, the Germans, I mean, every big army has tried to defeat them, and they always come on top. I don't know why, but it is time for us to pull out of this place by following all of these steps that we just discussed in this presentation. I just want to thank you for your time, and I hope you made the right decision to approve all this budget to pull out of Afghanistan. Thank you.